Okay, to start here, you should have your microbit connected and working here. We're talking about functions in lesson 13. So we've done functions before, but now in microbits. So let's review for a quick moment here. A function is a way we take code that we're probably going to use a bunch of times and consolidate it under one name. And then when we decide we want to use that block of code, instead of writing all that code, we just call the name of that function. And that's what we're talking about here today, just in context of the microbits and App Lab. So let's take a look at this first one. It's a prediction task. It says the app can be used to keep track of your current happiness and update the screen based on the result. When the user presses one of the buttons on the microbit, the screen should update. Read the code below and predict what you think is going to happen when the user interacts with the microbit. What do you think the green update screen block is doing? So go ahead and take a moment and review the code and make a prediction, and then you can run it and see if you're right or wrong, and then come on back when you're done and we'll continue. So hopefully that pause gave you time to go ahead and review the code and take a look and make some predictions here. So if we look at the code, we've got a couple onboard events that are programmed, a button A and a button B. We can see that button A takes your happiness down because there's a counter pattern that's subtracting, and button B takes your happiness value up because we can see that there's an addition counter pattern there. What's different about this is this update screen function here. So far, and when we talk about App Lab and what we've done with the microbits, the only function we've had has basically been the onboard events or these on events. All right, but now we're going to be able to add back in other functions. Well, that update screen function is defined at the bottom of the code, and as you can see, it's a bunch of if statements that say here, depending on where the number is that we have on the screen, that's going to define my current happiness and the emoji that appears. So if you took your time to run your microbit and start pressing the A and B key, as you can see, the A key is taking my happiness down, and eventually the emoji changes into a frowny face. And as I press the B key, all right, eventually it will turn into a happy face. And if my numbers are somewhere in between, I get kind of the M reaction there. All right, and so that's what we're going to be looking at here today, is how to make those functions and write those functions for the microbits and App Lab. All right, let's go ahead and continue on to Bubble 2. So as we look at Bubble 2, it says the app lets you click on aliens on the screen and an image on the LED screen will appear to represent the moods of the aliens. Yellow aliens are muh and green aliens are surprised. The app has already been started for you and has already defined two functions, muh and surprise. You still need to call these functions within your program. Two of the aliens are already working correctly. Your task is to make the other aliens work correctly too. Okay, so we can go ahead and look at the code that's there, and we can see that we have the green alien and the yellow alien on events coded. Remember, they're on events because we're clicking things here. The response on the microbit doesn't really require us to do anything, which is why it's not an onboard event. So as it said, the couple of them are already programmed, so you can go ahead and run this. And I believe it's these top two. As you can see, when you click on them and then look at your microbit, you get different responses on the LED screen of the microbit. All right. So the problem is the rest of them are not done. So these top two work great, but the rest of them, all right, are not defined in code. So it's our objective to do that. So let's take a minute and analyze the code here. We can see that these first couple aliens already have code that goes with them called surprise image and muh image, which is what they told us up here. Well, those are functions because they're green blocks. So if we scroll down to the bottom, as you can see, those functions are already defined. All right, they did them with LED screen display code. So the muh image already has code that works, and the surprise image already has code that works, which we've seen because we've clicked on both of them on the microbit. Remember, when we write functions, usually we put them at the bottom just to get them out of the way because they don't need to be in the middle of our code. They can be in the middle of the code and it doesn't cause any ill effect, but usually we put them at the bottom. Okay, so going back to the top then. So all the green aliens need surprise image in their code. So anytime you see something with green down here, we're going to add surprise image, and you want to make sure you write it the exact same way. So I'll drag into this first one, which is green alien 2. That's got green in it. And I'm going to type surprise image. And you want to make sure you write it the exact same way that you saw up top. And we're going to repeat that process now for every single one of these ones left down here that has green in it. Now to save a bit of time, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste in text mode because it's the same code every time as long as it's got green in it. Okay, and then as we can see, the yellow ones are called image. So anytime I see a yellow, I need image. So I'm going to go to my function here for this one that starts on line 17 and drag that in and type that in. And then just like we just did, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste away here on anything else that has yellow in it. All right, and then as we look at this code here, we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of code there. Well, that makes sense because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 aliens. All right, so that's why we have to have 8 blocks of code. And so now this should work for every single alien. So go ahead and reset and rerun your code. And now no matter which alien you click on, you should get the appropriate response on your microbits. So same idea here in bubble 3. We've got red and blue aliens now. Okay, red aliens are supposed to be happy, blue aliens are supposed to be sad. Well, the code for the red aliens already exists. All right, they've already got a function inside there called happy image, and they've defined happy image down here at the bottom. So those are already going to work. So you can go ahead and run the code and see that the red aliens already work. It's our objective to make the blue aliens work now. So we have to put code in here, yes, but the other thing is there's no function. So we have to define the function before we can put the code in there. So let's go ahead and declare a function. So I'm going to go into functions and drag out a function block. As we can see, we're making a sad alien, so we're going to call this sad image. You can call it whatever you want as long as you call that exact same name later on in your code. And then we're going to go ahead and grab the LED screen display code and drag it inside because we know we need to light up the microbit to have a sad face image. So you want to go ahead and take a minute and program whatever you think a sad face is going to look like on your microbit. Remember, 1 is going to turn the cell on and 0 is going to turn it off. So only the ones will represent the image you see on the microbit. So if you need to, go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and draw in your sad image and then come on back when you're done. As you can see, I coded my sad image there. So again, whatever that looks like is up to you. That's just my interpretation. But it's throwing an error because it's saying, well, you defined it, but you're not calling it, which is correct. All right, remember, as we've talked about many times, just like a variable, if I create it but don't use it, it's going to throw an error. And the same thing here. I've created this, but I'm not using it now. So to finish it, we got to come back up here to these 2 blue alien blocks and add that function. So we're going to go into functions and put in my function, and that function was called sad image. If you used a different name, just make sure you go ahead and use the name that you have. All right, and then most importantly, let's test our code. So we want to make sure the blue ones, when I click, I get a response on my screen, and indeed, I get my sad face image on the screen, so I know this is working correctly.